Okay, back again. Robert Jordan from Careful Ghost Electronics. New year, 2025. It is incredibly hot at the moment, 36 degrees Celsius. So I am hiding out in the bottom of the house at the moment, in the garage, with all my junk. I wanted to show off a bunch of prototypes. All my old I've got so many old prototypes. A lot of them aren't doing anything. Some of them turned into other things. And I thought it'd be very interesting to go through some of these and show them to you. Why not? So first things first, a little MIDI controller with two joysticks on top. And the joysticks are X, Y, rotate, and button on top. And there's two of them. And it's just a Bowen connector for a foot pedal on the back. And then inside it's just a Arduino Leonardo, which can act as a USB MIDI host. That's a cute little MIDI controller prototype I was playing with at one point, which is very similar to this friend. It's another USB MIDI controller. This one has a big CNC style rotary knob with a little handle. Makes an incredibly satisfying sound. It's great for controlling filters, stuff like that. This is a little pulse generator that I made that I use with my EuroWRA stuff sometimes. It's got it can be, let me slow you down. It can either be generate a single pulse in this mode when I press it, and then the length of that pulse I believe is set by the rotary. It's been a while since I looked at this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the rotary sets the length of the pulse, and then if you set it in this mode, you can now set your clock speed with this fun endless rotary. And it's got this fun knob on top, and it's a little handheld device. That's another fun prototype. What else have I got? So I've always been really interested in making tools, tools for electronics. So this is something from so long ago that I was calling the Easy Probe, but it's a prototype I never made anything. The idea was you could use the B and C to connect to your oscilloscope, and then you got essentially like an adapter. You got bananas, DC, little screw down terminals, audio in, and the DC, kind of hard to see, the DC and the audio are actually passed through, and this sort of just intercepts that. And then it's got rulers on the back and little hole measurers and little pads down here. I can't think I can get that to focus. The idea is you'd just be able to put a component there and have it give you a rough kind of estimate of what it was. And that is also similar to this little prototype I never did anything with. Again, a little hard to see, but this was designed to make adapting audio. So it's 2.5, full size, XLR, and two RCAs into two jacks for connecting to an oscilloscope when you're working with audio, and they're all connected together. So the idea was you'd plug this in, and then that'd be, you could use any of these other ones as the audio out. Also, for a while I was making myself fancy little adapters for protoboards. So this is for the particle photon, and it takes the particle photon microcontroller and breaks it out to screw down terminals. And originally I made those for all the standard microcontrollers, you know, Arduinos, Mega, ESP32, I think. Never really did anything with that. I just adapters, not worth much money. Didn't really want to be in the adapter business. Here is these things called, I think they're called the Angry Bee. I used to teach workshops on them. So the idea is 9-volt battery goes in the back, and it's got an audio in and an audio out, and so you can, the idea was you'd be able to like put them together and form a colony of them. Simple drone machines, a couple little options and a little touch panel down the bottom. And was never really very happy with them, but so I never turned them into a real product. But very fun, the B shape of the PCB. Big fan of that. I went through a while of thinking these would be a thing. So these are EuroWRA little boardy things I was working on. And the idea was that it'd be a single form factor. And I was calling it the Music is Math Supercomputer. I don't know if we can... Yeah, Music is Math Supercomputer. And the idea was that they'd combine a whole bunch of like old school computer kind of functions. So breaking apart, what do we got here? Yeah, so this one over here is a 2 times ADC. Let's get that in focus. So the idea is 0 to 5 volts here, 3-bit binary output, 0 to 5 volts here, and then 0 to 5 kind of level steps. And then this one was, what was this one? Oh yeah, binary to decimal encoder. So binary in, these 3 here, to decimal out. I never really turned those into products. I just was never really very happy with the build time on them, and they just weren't as responsive as I would have liked. The method I had for the kind of underpinning logic on how they worked didn't make them as flexible as I thought it was going to be. So that didn't eventuate into a product per se. I also, I've always been, like I said, very into adapters and tools. See if I can get one that hasn't got stuff soldered to it. Yeah, here we go. And so I made these. The idea is that they are cable snakes. 4 channels? Yeah, 4-channel cable snakes that use Cat5, Cat6, all those, RJ45 style adapters, sorry, cables. And the idea is that there's 2 on the back here facing in opposite directions, so that you can get them to actually like sit flat, and you can also, each of them can also break in 2, like split the signal outwards into 2. So the idea was these 4 and the first 2 double up as full size. These 4 go to these 4, and then each of them has 2 attenuators, and you can switch which channel you'd like to be on which attenuator. So the idea was kind of a cable snake and volume control at the same time. But I really don't like the quality of audio going through Cat5. And I just don't like Cat5 cables in general. I don't like how flimsy they are, and maybe that's ill-founded. Maybe that's an ill-founded concern. Maybe they're fine and I'm just being a bit of a weirdo about it. I got this sucker. So this designed to be a drop some stuff. This was a little prototype I was working on to make it easier to work with guitar pedals. So the idea would be you can put your guitar in, guitar out, true bypass, and power in, and then you could use banana plugs to your breadboard or to whatever your setup was. So power, audio in, audio out, and then you could just use Jesus, dropping stuff everywhere. And then you could use you know, bananas or the banana to crocodile clip, which I'm very partial to as a way of adapting it to your big old breadboard setup or whatever guitar pedal you're building. A little prototype here was a laser cut replica of the EuroWRA V4 video mixer. This one painted. I was very interested in this. I thought this was like very, very cool, but yeah, other people just weren't. Other people just didn't seem to, I don't know, didn't seem to be interested in it, which is fine because I have some myself. I've got 2 or 3 that I like, and that is fine. Not everything has to be for everyone else. Not everything has to be a product. Like this is not a product. This is a work in progress for a video test station, and the idea will be the camera up here. It's like a little shitty handycam. Will generate video and audio, and then this side will be audio and video capture. And the idea is that you just have to sit this box up, and then I will always have a source of audio and video for testing other gear mostly, without having to set up other things, or like when I'm building things like the Cappy audio capture or the when I'm making video equations. It's nice to just have something kind of set up you can plug into to, you know, that you know works. It'll just work when you're testing that stuff. What is in a fancy box? So I had this idea of making cool kind of flat pack stuff. So the idea is you'd get sent a piece of metal, and then at home using kind of basic tools you'd be able to bend it into something else. So this would be a you know, a cable rack. This would be like a modular cable holder. This is just a prototype of different, you can see I've tested all the different kind of bend. You know, here's a spiky one and here's a angled one, and different kind of widths and depths to try to see what would work. And different materials. I've got aluminium, and this is steel that rusts. You can see it kind of worked, kind of didn't. Yeah, I had this idea that extended to cases, like EuroWRA cases. I had this thought that what if you could get a kind of flat pack thing in the mail and then kind of bend the tabs and screw it all together and have like the laser cut EuroWRA cases that you used to be able to get that were just like, I don't know, quite expensive, but I just never kind of got far enough on these to really kind of make it work. And one of the things I realized is bending these things is very easy with something like a brake press, which obviously most people don't have, and that's kind of the point. You shouldn't have to have it. But one of the things I was finding about the design was it just had to be so compromised to make it bendable at home that it just ended up not being really worth it. Like this thing here, so like it's easy to bend these fingers that, you know, that would hold a EuroWRA cable between them. Obviously it would look nicer, but things like these long bends, like up the back, you have to have a slot that goes essentially the whole way, and then there's so little actual support by the time you can bend it by hands or with basic tools It just never, I don't know, just never really kind of made sense. Yeah, never really kind of made sense as something to turn into a product. What else have we got? Oh yeah, I've had this sucker on the back burner for a while. This is a, let's crack it open. This was designed to be kind of like a Cyberdeck sort of mobile VJ rig. It's got big fans in it. It's got a Penny and Giles TBar, touchscreen, kind of hard to see. USB ports, video in, video out. And one of the things is, we can take a look under the hood. It's getting there, it just needs a bit of love and a bit of cable tightening. We've got a little, take that case out. We've got a little industrial PC in here. 240 volts to 9 volt power supply. Got a fan. And over here on the surface we've got a bunch of way too long cables. Nice screen. Adapters. So this is actually a Windows PC. So rather than having to build a, build a Cyberdeck that relies on, say, your own kind of Max MSP or I was going to say Raspberry Pi style thing and having to sort of build your own software or whatever. Is that closed properly? Nah, it needs to be seated slightly better. The idea was that, because this is a Windows PC, that you would be able to just use things like Resolume and existing kind of Windows software. Maybe I'll do something on it, maybe I'll finish it. Who knows? Before I built the video exchange, this is what I was using in my rig. It does some of the same things as that product that's no longer in production. So mainly the idea was that this was like a little feedback tool, and this switch let you choose between internal feedback and external feedback. So internal feedback just means that the video mixer's output connected directly to one of its inputs for a classic kind of feedback effect. And then these two buttons, this one connects output to input and this one breaks output to input, and it's locking as well. So the idea was that you could bypass the feedback, or you could like turn it off completely. And then I can't remember what this switch did, but the idea was that you could also have external effects in a sort of video loop out kind of style. So when you pushed it to external, it would now run through whatever external off-board video gear you had, and you could do cool things like jump back and forwards, and when you're on the external you hit this and it'll bypass and it'll go to like, it'll flick it back to kind of an internal loop for a moment or something, which is very cool because video mixer feedback is very lovely, but it is kind of hard to work with if you have outboard gear that you're trying to do stuff with. These are very old prototypes. Can't even remember what I called them, but they were sort of audio video generators that would get strapped to poles. They're at the Gertrude Street Projecting Festival many, many years ago. And so you would touch this and it would wow, and there'd be a whole bunch of them attached to poles together. A little googly eyes to see if this thing lights up. That would also make noise. And there was one with a screen and a little video synth in it, and you'd touch them and they'd make cool, fun, sort of wobbly noises. Here's a big speaker I've been playing around with. I keep meaning to do some more work on. Oh God, I stopped it. some more work on. It's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 speaker drivers in it. One big, 2 small, 2 even smaller, and then 4 very, very small. Hypertweeters or whatever they're called. And then on top, even kind of smaller, crappy, tinier speakers. And the idea behind those was that just that big kind of like, I don't know, I really love those like big, like dub systems that people make. But I wanted one that was like super duper compact. Will something happen with it? Maybe, maybe not. But something that hopefully is going to become a thing, a product that is currently a prototype, is this, the TBar. I feel like I have been working on this sucker for so long. It's a TBar. Like this. Yep. But unlike this, which is incredibly expensive, this is much cheaper. And that is by design, because I love TBars and I've gone through so many different iterations. That one does feel good. Thinking about circuits for a TBar controller, or different ways of achieving that kind of motion. I feel like it's getting, I feel like it's getting close. It's getting close to having a really nice kind of feel. And part of the reason that it can be so cheap is because there is a geared cog inside. Whoop, 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 whoop. Which is very cute. I'm a big fan of the geared cog. Whereas obviously this professional one has a Hall effect sensor and a whole bunch of other kind of fancy stuff, which is great and very important for like big, expensive professional gear. But not everything needs a crazy, expensive TBar for itself. Some stuff just, some stuff I think would benefit from having the kind of fun control without quite as much commitment, financially, that is. A very satisfying feel. What else have we got? I've got so much stuff, I could do this all day, but maybe the final thing we'll look at is this. So this was meant to be a follow-up to the EuroWRA, which is my little handheld 4-oscillator noise synth. This was similar to that, except it had a patch bay up the top, and the idea was that you were able to patch it together, and it 4 CV inputs, vectorals, some trigger stuff, a bunch of, can't remember what these switches did, external triggers, and the idea was that you could make cool, wobbling, weird, sort of noisy, horrible noise machine stuff. Like the EuroWRA, but much more complex and much more kind of deep. But for whatever reason, I just kind of, dropped this, which is a bit sad, but, c'est la vie. Got so many other kind of things in the works and in progress that, you can't, unfortunately, you can't make everything a product. And there's so much commitment to like once something is a product and is out in the world in terms of like supporting it and all that jazz. So, lots of stuff ends up just being, for me, like I was having so much fun with this, maybe like 2 or 3 years, oh, maybe it's even older. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was having so much fun with this weird thing, but you know, that's life. Can't always make everything a product, and probably shouldn't. Probably not worth it. So thank you so much for tuning in and looking at a small selection of the absolutely enormous number of prototypes I have, most of which didn't really go anywhere. But maybe they will. One beautiful day. Till next time.